Good morning. Back here again on a shortened week for us, so really accelerated weekend work of preparation for a Friday night game. Just continue to start here by commenting about the game on Saturday. Just a gut-wrenching loss for our guys. I'm just so proud of how hard they played. I really challenged them with some things after the Iowa game, and really encouraged by the way they responded and how hard they played and how they prepared for a very, very good football team, and did a lot of good things, and just really hated to see us fall short there at the end, but have to continue to address the little things of finishing and executing at critical times on both sides of the football there at the end, and then throughout the game, and as well as special teams let us down, and really disappointed in that. And I spent a lot of time over the weekend addressing our kickoff cover unit and different things there, adjusting personnel and making the corrections and changes we have to do to be at the level we need to be at in special teams to win those kind of games. And then, we really challenged our defense in the secondary and our linebackers and D-line to be able to do a better job against the pass, and did not give up any touchdown passes, which broke their quarterback's 34-game streak of having touchdown passes. So knew he was going to be a tremendous challenge. Obviously, his legs are also part of the equation, and so he hurt us a couple, sometimes with that. But proud of the guys we made some adjustments. We addressed it schematically and some things, and then obviously challenged our guys, and they responded. And then offensively running the football the way we did with Stevie getting 138 yards, 2 TDs. He leads the nation now in carries for true freshmen, and he's second in the country in yards for true freshmen, second in 100-yard games, and fourth in TDs. So he continues to play at a high level, and the offensive line did a great job, blocking for him. But just even then, we got to hold up in the end. They know we got to throw the football at the last drive, and struggle to be able to protect our quarterback there, and we have to be able to do that. So as we wrap up that game, we offensively, Stevie Scott was our offensive player of the game, and defensively, Marcelino Ball was our defensive player of the game. He probably played his best football game of his career here, I believe, and holistically, and he prepared that way. We're really excited for him and his maturity and his growth. John Crawford, Raheem Lane, Micah McFadden are other guys I wanted to mention as well. I thought played extremely well and rose up, and a lot of our guys did. I thought Damian Willis played his heart out and tail off, and Raekwon same thing, and Alan Stallings up front, and Jerome, and just thought the kids played hard, and just didn't quite get the job done. And then special teams, Chris Kajik's the guy. He's our special teams player of the game. Just a role guy that is one of those young men that you just love having on your team. Receiver for us that doesn't get a lot of snaps, but when called upon, will be ready to go. Does a great job on special teams, and is very consistent, and appreciate his heart and effort, everything he brings to our program. And, when you think about our offense, we had 100 snaps, which is, I think, second all-time, and 554 yards, which they hadn't given up that in a couple of years. And I just, really saw a lot of great things, but just got to keep working. Got to continue to focus on doing the little things right and keep getting better as a football team. So, and wrapping up the game as well, we also have our scout team guys that I really always want to recognize and appreciate everything that they give our program. And Josh Brown and Jordan Jusovich on defensive scout team players of the week. And then offensive scout team players of the week, Johnny Paps, Jacoby Hewitt, Luke Shaudovich, and then scout team player of the week for special teams was a couple guys, Luke Shaudovich and Justin Berry. So all those guys working hard consistently, and want to recognize them for their hard work. And as we close up the game, just want to say that unfortunately we've lost Michael Penix with an ACL tear, which is very tough thing for him to have to go through, and heart breaks for him. But it's part of this game, and we've obviously experienced those here with Cole earlier in the season, and then what Jay Sean Harris has done in our program. So I'm pretty upfront about things like that, and that's a part of where we are. And he'll have surgery here in a few weeks once that's appropriate, and then he'll begin the process of getting back. And I had a great talk with him yesterday, and I know he's hurting and discouraged and down, but it's one of those things you have to just learn to deal with. And he's got a great mentor in Jay Sean Harris to help him through. So, But tough blow for us and tough blow for him. But it's part of this tough game that we play. So we heart, thoughts and prayers with him through his recovery, and we'll move forward. So that's all I have from the game. We obviously play a team up in Minnesota, first Friday night game we've had here and for a long time. I think the last time we had was against Minnesota, and it's been a few years ago. I think it was due to the might have been the World Series or some type of baseball conflict with the schedule, and played them there, I think in the 80s. And so heading back up there for a Friday night game. And Coach Fleck has a young team, and he's a new coach there that's got a amazing amount of energy and passion and what he's building there. And so they going to be a tremendously hard-fought physical game, and they've got a lot of playmakers on offense that are coming together and playing better every single week, and defense that flies around and is one of the top in the Big Ten in tackles for loss, and has the sack leader for the Big Ten right now, and has several good players, and they do a great job of playing really, really hard and playing together. So great challenge for us, get back on the road, get back where we want to be, and this is a very important week. We're both on the same schedule. Both teams played on Saturday. Both teams have the same amount of time to prepare, so we have to modify our schedule, and we have. So excited about this new opportunity to head to Minnesota and take on the Gophers Friday night. Questions?
I guess just to circle back to Michael for a second, two questions. First of all, who's the backup now? And then second of all, just as he goes through this process, can you set any targets for him in terms of spring practice and being available for any of that, or is that something you've just got to think about once you get through?
Already have. We sat through that and sat down with our head trainer, Kyle Blackman, and the goal is to be able to have him ready for spring football so he can throw 7-on-7 for spring. And then he would not be, and our quarterbacks are never live in the spring anyways, but he would just be, that would probably be the most he would do, but he'll be ready to go for that. That's the goal anyways. We set that as a target goal. And then hopefully he'll be ready to go June 1, 100% full bore, ready to go. So these are not, what anybody wants, and he's never had one before, but, his faith and his family and his strength of character and his mindset will help him through this. He'll be a better player, a more mentally tough individual, and he'll have a confidence about his ability to overcome things when this is all said and done. Not what anyone wants to hear right now, and he's still struggling, so we haven't even had surgery yet. But, I guess you get to the point in some of these kinds of injuries where you just have to, just shoot me the truth and tell me how it's going to be, and let's get this thing attacked head on, so that's the reality of it. So he's got a lot of hard work ahead of him, but as we know, we got several guys in our program that have overcome these and come back and done some awesome things. So he'll come back stronger than ever and be ready to go. Like I said, June 1 would be the goal, and that's pretty aggressive on my part, but at the same time, we have had those conversations, and so I'm just telling you the truth. And then in regards to who's the backup, Reese Taylor will be our backup quarterback, and which we've already had moved him there and gotten a lot of work there as well. So, but that will be a part of it, and continue to utilize him and do whatever we got to do to help our football team win football games.
You talked about the offensive line. I think they had 5 or 6 holding penalties, and I think Wes Martin had a couple kind of uncharacteristic. When you looked at that on film, what did you see there? Well,
you never want to see those, and they got called one time for them, so it was 6-1 in regards to those. To me, and I don't want to get into the officiating and all that, but the bottom line is they were very athletic, and when you are very athletic and the struggle, the strain to try to get away and to move and all that sometimes creates, because let's just be real here, offensive line, they hold about every play, right? So, and I can say that as a defensive coach. So, but there's a way that you have your hands in place, and that's part of your technique, and you do that. And so, but when you create that separation, that's when they get called, right? And so that's kind of how it works in that part of the game. And so they do a good job of getting that separation. And I didn't agree with all the calls as I went back and looked at them. I'm sure you wouldn't be too surprised to hear me say that. But at the same time, I'm not going to bellyache about calls. Yeah, they hurt us. We had 3 first downs that were affected by those calls. So, yeah, they were very costly, very, very we got to move our feet, got to have better technique, but to me, there's a lot of that goes on both sides of the ball, and I just like to see that stuff called fairly. I told that official during the game, I just want things called fairly. That's what it's interference calls, where it's holding calls. I just want it to be done on both sides, and it goes on both ends, and that's just how I want it to be. And I think that's not an unfair or unrealistic or inappropriate expectation for a head football coach for his team.
The past few weeks, with Reese kind of playing a jack-of-all-trades type role, how much work was he actually getting at quarterback? And now going into this week, how does that change for him?
A lot of drill work, and then that will increase. He wasn't getting a lot of, hey, he's the number 2 now. I will say, like we do inside run, and the last 2 weeks, and he would be the quarterback for that and did all he was in that position. And so I'd say maybe at certain times, but to say full bore, and we had some packages where we put him in there and did some things. So it's that will obviously, intensify. So before it was just more drill work and isolated situations, but he's played that position his whole life, so it was pretty natural at it.
Coach, so with Reese as the primary backup now, will he be still getting the same kind of use in different offensive packages? You're going to maybe
we want to utilize him, but obviously you got to have an understanding of his other role that he plays as well. So, a little bit of a unique situation in that regard, but just got to do a great job as a staff of preparing him and utilizing his talents, as well as having him prepared, for that role as well. So it does create some unique challenges for our staff, but Coach Debo will do a great job with that, and that's process has already begun.
Have your thoughts changed any on Friday night games, Big Ten? I know you talked the last couple of years about.
No, I believe in what I've said in the past. I stand by it. I believe that Friday nights are for high school football, and believe that very strongly. But it's not my decision. So we go and we play, and we'll be ready to play wherever we're asked to play, whenever we're asked to play, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I just like to protect that for it doesn't matter what state it's in. For those guys to be able to enjoy that night of the week for them. So that's how I feel.
Coach, you kind of still looking back to the kickoff coverage stuff. You mentioned about looking at the film and trying to figure out what went wrong. Is it going to be a case of changing the way you guys cover kicks, changing personnel, changing who calls the packages, or what? I would say
number one, and this is kind of how I said it to our staff. I said, okay, first of all, the first thing we have to address is the quality of the kick. Okay, so the way that we want to be able to cover kicks, the kick has to be set a certain spot to a certain spot, and that didn't happen at all in the first one. And the second one that they ran back was the hang time was very, very low. Okay, so the kick itself is step number one. Step number two is personnel. So we've adjusted some personnel, we made some changes, and to get guys that we feel like will do a better job. Obviously, the guys we had in there, we thought were going to do a good job, and they did not get the job done. So, they were going to be that was addressed. And then you look at, once again, the placement of the ball. We're trying to do a better job of that, and also who can, do the best job of placing the ball. So it's critical part of the game, and it's the first play of defense. So that series that's going to be taking place next, it's the first play of that series is the kickoff team. And so that was emphasized once again in our meetings today, and trying to even put some more guys on there that maybe even starter type guys that we just gotta have great coverage. So it'll be addressed.
Stevie he had a lot more carries than he'd had the previous two, or maybe even I think 3 games, but he's still third in the conference in carries so far this season. As he's a freshman, where's kind of his workload sort of strike zone in your mind right now going into the last 5 games?
You just try to, he's a big, strong kid. He really is. And I think he's one of those, well, I know he is. He gets better as the game wears on and he gets more carries, which is pretty typical for my experience with the really good running backs. And so, you try to, I think that you're kind of in that road, the range of you get him in the, upper teens, low 20s, and you just be able to, there's no, each week it can be changed, and it obviously has changed. But I think that's a reasonable amount, and not too much and not too little. And he's got the strength and the stamina to be able to take those hits, and because of the way he's built. And I just think that he's, got the frame for it and can handle that workload. So, but every game's a little different, and obviously that played out this past week, and he did some great things. And he protected the football, which is very important.
You haven't talked much about Minnesota. What kind of challenges do they present Friday?
Yeah, I think first of all, with their defensive front, like I said, with the tackles for loss and the sacks that they create, that's always a big concern. And bottom line is we have got to do a great job up front, and once again challenge our guys today. Talked about it today about protecting our quarterbacks and running the football, and that's the huge emphasis we have, because that's what they present. That's what they do really well. And, offensively, they've just gotten better and better every single week. They kind of started fast, and they won their first three and got into Big Ten play and played some really good football teams. But have consistently moved the football, haven't always scored in the red zone. I know they've talked about that. But at the same time, they've got themselves down there, and they pin people down. Their special teams are excellent, and really impressed with their kickers. Their cover units are really strong. Their return units are strong. So, well-coached football team, very well coached. And, Coach Fleck's done a really good job there in that regard, in terms of how the team plays and the techniques they play with. And special teams is something that sticks out to me for them, for sure. And, just have to, you're going on the road, we got to play our best football. And once it is, you got one day shorter. Other than that, everything else is the same, and very important football game for our program. So we have to have our best week of preparation for this one, and that's my expectation. That's what I believe will happen. We had a really good day today.
They have quarterback injuries of their own. What's the challenge of preparing for two?
Yeah, it's we don't really know what's going to happen with that, and the backup came in and played this the whole second half and did a lot of good things. So similar. So it's not like you're dramatically different styles. I don't see their scheme changing a lot, but very RPO driven, and have ran the ball well. And then throw off those runs, and do a good job of that. And that's kind of, they're built for that, and do a good job with that, and have some really one of the more talented receivers that we faced, and really, saw him in the spring. We watched all our opponents in the spring, in their spring game, and he did some great things there, got my attention real fast in that game, and he hasn't disappointed since in regards to his production and how well he's played. So, team that we have to play our best football.
With Brian Fitzgerald, I mean, just what's maybe the learning curve for him just after the year off last year, just kind of getting back in the swing, I think, getting in a routine this year?
I think that's, you can't really overstate what a big deal that is to have a whole, several months where you don't play ball, and how that kind of sets you back a little bit. And so he's continued to get better and better, showed, some really good spurts on Saturday night, playing some great football and made some big plays. And he's just a very he's a physical player. He has a high care factor. He's one of those guys that everybody loves and respects because he does everything he asks and works extremely hard. And he's an in-state. I watched him, play, and I thought he was the best player in the state when he came out of high school. And because of his ability to make plays on all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams. He was a running back. He was a return guy, and obviously played, defense. And so just thought he was a really talented guy, and he is. And he just continued to get better and better, and to me it's about just learning to, with these young guys that we have, I think the big challenge here is we're the only Big Ten team that has not had a bye yet. And so we're just the whole week after week after week with a young group of guys and just keeping them, staying the course and working through the fatigue and the mental fatigue and the physical fatigue. And then you get some injuries, and then you don't feel good all the time, and you got classes, and you got study table, and you got this, and you got that, and you got papers due, and all those things that these guys haven't gone through, in the past. And so I just think that's, and he's just another guy. Even though he was here last year, he wasn't going through any of this before, and so, because he didn't practice at all. So it was a little bit different than even your typical guy that redshirts and practices with us. So I just think that he's had to go through all of that and continue. So we treat him like a true freshman. Both him and Juwan Burgess are just like true freshmen to us in terms of on the field and everything else. And so I think that we have to continue to understand that, and that's part of our team. And even we call our hammer team, our kickoff team, we had 9 freshmen on that unit, during the game. And last year at this time, we were playing walk-ons and guys that were just kind of helping us piece it together at the end. And so we have talented guys on there. They're on scholarship, and guys are going to be really good players, but they're freshmen. And so I just think, he's one of those guys, and so we just got to continue to stay the course and and with them, and just keep teaching. I tell our coach, man, just keep mentoring them, keep teaching them. They don't know. You have to teach them everything about how this works and what it's like to be a Big Ten football player and handle everything that you have to do. So I just think that that's something our coaches are really working hard at and trying to be a very good father figure to them, as a coach and as a student athlete, all wrapped up into one, as a young guy. So that's something that Bryant's, we call him Fitz, that Fitz has done a great job of, and I think just keep seeing him play better and better.
Could you elaborate at all whether Michael had a partial or a full tear?
As far as I know, they just tell me it's a torn ACL. So I'm assuming it's, I don't get all the degrees of that, but it's enough where he's having full surgery. He's out for the rest of the season. So.
Did you get a sense that he was stretching the field though with some of his deep throws?
Yeah, he did. He played well, and so, yep, he's a good quarterback. Even better kid. So glad he's a Hoosier. Thanks so much, Elio.